They fined me $2,500 for fishing in my own lake. My own backyard, my own dock, the same water where my grandfather taught me how to tie a proper knot. And that fine, it was just the opening shot in a war I never asked for against a woman who turned neighborhood rules into a weapon and tried to take everything from me. I should probably start with why that lake mattered so much. After a messy divorce, I needed peace, something that felt like home again. I bought this place for nearly $500,000, mostly because of that little 1.2-acre lake. Every morning, I'd sit out with Grandpa's beat-up tackle box sip black coffee and cast toward the same fallen log he'd pointed out 25 years earlier. Those mornings made sense of my world. The air was cool, the water-glassy neighbors would wave, kids would ask what I caught, and for a few hours I felt like life was finally okay. Then she showed up. Sandra White, HOA president, 50-ish, dyed blonde hair, clipboard glued to her hand. She stomped down my gravel path like she was serving a warrant. "Sir, you cannot fish here anymore," she announced, tone sharp enough to cut glass. I laughed, thought she was joking. "Lady, this is my lake. I've got the deed in my drawer." But she laid out papers on the ground like she was performing surgery. "Old county water rule," she said. HOA had purchased lake rights for $50,000 last year. All fishing required permits now. She scribbled on her clipboard, snapped photos of my rod, my tackle box, even my damn coffee cup, then slapped me with a fine for $2,500. I tried reasoning with her. I even pulled up my deed on my phone, showed her the property lines. Didn't matter, she already had the script memorized. When she left, neighbors who usually smiled shut their doors. Even Harold, the quiet guy next door, avoided my eyes. It felt like the whole street knew something I didn't. Next morning, 6 a.m., the sound of heels on my driveway woke me. Sandra, again tape measure in hand. She measured my dock, muttered about unauthorized structures, and wrote another citation. $800 this time. By the end of that week, I was nearly $5,000 in fines. She told everyone I was contaminating the water supply. Parents pulled their kids away when they saw me outside. Overnight, I went from friendly fisherman to neighborhood leper. The stress got inside my head. I couldn't sleep. Lost weight, caught myself wondering if maybe she was right. Maybe I was breaking some rule I didn't understand. Then came the worst blow. HR called. After 13 spotless years at my company, I was suddenly under investigation. They'd gotten reports that I was absent during work hours. Reports from neighbors. Guess who orchestrated that? Within a month, I was unemployed. Then, the foreclosure notice hit my mailbox like a death sentence. I sat at my kitchen table staring at it, thinking about selling the house, walking away, just letting her win. I almost did. But then Harold finally spoke up. He shuffled over one evening, looked around like we were plotting a crime. He told me Sandra had done this before 6 families in the past few years. Always the same pattern. Nitpicky violations, fines, legal threats until they sold cheap. And then, mysteriously, those houses ended up with the same shell companies bought way under market value. Jessica, the HOA secretary, came next. Nervous single mom, always polite. She showed me records $50,000 supposedly paid to a lake management company. Except there was no such company. The check went out, but there were no receipts, no follow-up, nothing. Sandra had pushed that vote through when half the board wasn't even present. Jessica admitted she just trusted Sandra's expertise. That's when the pieces clicked. Sandra wasn't just a power-hungry neighbor. She was running a scheme buying up houses cheap through harassment campaigns. And I was target number 7. I set up my security cameras and sure enough caught her trespassing at 5:30 in the morning, flashlight in hand, measuring my dock like some deranged inspector. Finally, I had proof she wasn't just doing her job. But Sandra was relentless. New fines every few days. 600 here, 400 there. She even got a temporary restraining order against me after pressuring Jessica into signing a false statement that I'd threatened her. Suddenly, I wasn't even allowed at HOA meetings while she painted me as the villain. My life felt like a chess game where she always knew the next 10 moves and I was running out of pieces. That's when Harold, bless his bureaucratic soul, found the crack. He'd worked 30 years in county records and knew the rhythm of government filings. He discovered Sandra had filed her Lake Authority paperwork after she'd already fined me. The timestamps didn't lie. She'd been collecting money under false authority, then backdating documents to cover her tracks. That wasn't just shady, that was fraud. Armed with that and Jessica's guilty conscience, Harold and I started digging deeper. We traced her fake companies, the property purchases, the missing funds. It was bigger than either of us imagined. She wasn't just abusing HOA power. She was running a full-blown criminal enterprise using neighbors as pawns in her property-flipping empire. The night of the big board meeting, the room was packed 28 residents, the largest turnout in HOA history. Almost all of them against me, thanks to Sandra's gossip machine. She sat at the head of the table, cool as ice, telling everyone I was selfish, costing the community money. People shouted at me to just pay up. Then Harold stepped forward. He laid out the entire timeline, every fake invoice, every backdated filing, every shell company linked to Sandra. The room went dead silent. And then Jessica, trembling, stood up and admitted Sandra had forced her to lie about me under threats to her job and custody of her daughter. That broke everything open. The restraining order against me was void on the spot. For the first time in months, I could finally speak. I looked around at my neighbors, held up a signed offer, $65,000 to purchase the HOA's actual lake rights, the same rights Sandra had been pretending to control. The math was simple. They'd paid $50, I was offering $65. A profit for the community and freedom from Sandra's grip. The vote was swift. Only Sandra and one crony opposed. Everyone else raised their hands. Just like that, I legally owned the lake rights. Every fine, every citation she'd piled on me instantly became worthless. My foreclosure was stopped in its tracks. I'll never forget the look on Sandra's face when I told her I just bought the rights you've been faking this whole time. She froze, clipboard clutched like a shield, her mouth working, but no words coming out. For months, she'd strutted through the neighborhood like a sheriff, and in one vote, her badge vanished. The crowd she'd manipulated turned against her, voting her out as HOA president, demanding audits, restitution, and her immediate removal from power. Sandra lost her throne that night. The audits proved everything, over $300,000 siphoned through her fake companies. The county fired her from her government job for document fraud. She was banned from HOA positions, forced to sell her own house to pay restitution. And me, I stood there exhausted, furious, but relieved. My dock was half destroyed. My reputation scarred, but I was still standing. I hadn't let her steal Grandpa's lake. That's the thing about bullies who hide behind clipboards and rules. They look invincible until someone pushes back. Sometimes the only way to keep what matters is to fight like hell for it.